I remember the way John used to look at me across the dinner table. It was a look full of warmth, of understanding, of a shared future. We built something together, or so I thought. A life intertwined like two old trees, their roots deep and strong. Our apartment, our routines, our quiet Friday nights with takeout and a movie, they were our sanctuary, our predictable comfort. I loved him. I truly believed that I did. But then the cracks started to show, small at first, almost imperceptible like a hairline fracture in a priceless vase. It wasn't a sudden storm. It was more like a slow erosion, a gradual fading of color from a vibrant painting. The laughter became less spontaneous, the conversations a little shallower, the touch a little less electric. We were still there together physically, but sometimes I felt like I was watching us from a distance. Two actors playing roles they knew by heart, but whose passion had long since cooled. I started feeling invisible. Not unseen, but unacknowledged my accomplishments. My fears, my dreams, they seemed to drift into the background of our shared existence. John was a good man, a kind man, but he was also busy focused on his own world, his own stresses, his own quiet contentment. I told myself it was normal, this ebb and flow of long-term love. But deep down, a part of me whispered that something vital was missing. And then Mark walked into my life at work, a new project manager with an infectious laugh and eyes that actually seemed to see me. He listened, truly listened. Not just nodding politely, but engaging, asking follow-up questions, challenging my ideas, making me feel sharp, intelligent, alive. We started spending more time together naturally. At first, working late hours on the same project, grabbing coffee, grabbing lunch. His energy was intoxicating, a stark contrast to the comfortable predictability of my life with John. He made me feel seen. He made me feel desired. Not just as a partner, but as a woman. With her own thoughts, her own voice, her own fire, it started. Innocently enough, harmless flirting, a shared joke, a lingering touch on the arm. But the line, the invisible boundary, it was slowly blurring. I justified it to myself. It was just friendship, a professional bond. Nothing more, a harmless escape from the monotony. But the feeling in my stomach when his name popped up on my phone, the extra effort I put into my appearance on days, I knew I'd see him. The way my heart pounded when our eyes met across a crowded room. Those weren't just signs of friendship one evening after a particularly intense brainstorming session. We were the last two left in the office. The city lights twinkled outside the window, a beautiful, indifferent backdrop to the storm brewing inside me. He walked over to my desk, his presence warm, his smile gentle, and he simply said, "You're amazing. You know that." And in that moment, all my defenses crumbled, all my justifications evaporated, all my rationalizations dissolved. I leaned in, or maybe he did. I don't remember the exact mechanics of it. But our lips met, and the world tilted. The kiss was electrifying, forbidden, intoxicating, a jolt of pure adrenaline mixed with a sickening wave of guilt. It lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity, a point of no return. When we pulled apart, the silence was deafening, filled with unspoken questions and a heavy sense of what we had just done. We didn't talk about it. Not really, not then. Not for weeks. We just looked at each other with a new understanding, a shared secret that bound us in a way I hadn't anticipated. The affair began subtly. A series of stolen moments, furtive glances, hushed conversations, late-night texts that were deleted before dawn. Each time I was with Mark, a part of me felt exhilarated, alive, vibrant, and another part of me felt like a monster, a betrayer, a thief of trust. I would go home to John, Kiss him goodnight? Pretend that nothing had changed? That my heart wasn't split down the middle, that my mind wasn't elsewhere? The lies were small at first, innocent enough. But they quickly grew into a suffocating web. I started canceling plans with John, inventing excuses, working late, claiming tiredness. Each lie felt like another brick in a wall separating me from the man I had promised to love and honor. The guilt was a constant companion, a heavy shadow that followed me everywhere it was, in the way I avoided John's gaze, in the way I flinched when he touched me, in the way I couldn't sleep at night, my mind replaying every stolen moment, every whispered word, every deceitful smile. John noticed the distance. He wasn't stupid. He just didn't know what it meant. He asked if I was okay, if I was stressed about work, if something was wrong between us, and I would lie again, with a smile that felt brittle and hollow. A performance I was becoming increasingly skilled at. I hated myself for it. I hated what I was doing to him, to us, but I felt trapped, caught between two worlds, two men, two versions of myself. The thrill of Mark's attention, the excitement of the forbidden, the feeling of being truly seen and desired, it was a powerful drug. I felt stretched thin like a rubber band, pulled to its breaking point, trying to maintain two separate realities. The mental gymnastics required to keep track of lies, to remember who knew what, were exhausting. I started losing sleep. My appetite wavered. My mood became erratic. I was constantly fearful of being found out, of the dominoes falling one by one. The weight of the deception was crushing me slowly from the inside out. I often caught myself staring blankly into space, lost in a whirlwind of guilt and desire and confusion. The joy I once felt in simple things like a sunny afternoon or a good book had dissipated, replaced by a pervasive sense of dread and anxiety. My friends noticed I was quieter, more withdrawn, less engaged in our usual banter. They asked if I was okay, and I just offered vague assurances, a tight smile, a quick change of subject. I pushed them away, inadvertently isolating myself further in my web of lies. The irony wasn't lost. On me, the very act of seeking connection outside my relationship had ultimately made me more alone than ever. I was a prisoner of my own making, trapped in a cycle of deceit and self-reproach. I craved the easy laughter, the lightheartedness that Mark brought, but I also desperately yearned for the quiet, steadfast love that John offered. I was a walking contradiction, a woman torn between the seductive pull of the forbidden and the comforting embrace of the familiar. And in that struggle, I was losing myself bit by bit, day by day. But the price was my integrity, my peace of mind, the slow erosion of everything I had built with John. Our once comfortable home started to feel like a cage, a reminder of my betrayal. Every shared meal, every movie night, every tender touch from John felt like a fresh wound, a testament to my deception. I yearned for the simplicity of before, for the days when my heart was undivided, my conscience clear. But going back seemed impossible. Now I had crossed a line, and the path behind me seemed to have vanished. I tried to rationalize my actions to myself, to diminish the severity of my choices. John wasn't paying attention. I deserved to feel desired. Our relationship was stale. Everyone makes mistakes. These were the whispers of self-preservation, the desperate attempts to alleviate the crushing weight of my guilt. But deep down, I knew they were just excuses, flimsy veils over a gaping wound. I knew I was hurting John deeply, whether he knew it or not. I knew I was being selfish, destructive, a wrecking ball in the quiet sanctuary of our love mark. And I had a different kind of connection, one built on passion, on excitement, on a shared sense of rebellion. It felt liberating, exhilarating, but it was also shallow, devoid of the history, the depth, the unwavering commitment that John and I had once shared. I found myself comparing them constantly. Mark's immediate spark against John's slow-burning ember. I was chasing a feeling, a temporary high, oblivious to the devastation I was leaving in my wake. The secrecy became unbearable, the double life too exhausting, too emotionally draining. I was constantly on edge, worried about a misplaced text, a lingering scent, a casual question from John that would unravel everything. The facade was cracking, and I knew it was only a matter of time before it shattered completely. One evening, John found a message on my phone, a seemingly innocuous text from Mark, but the context, the tone, the history behind it screamed betrayal. He confronted me. His voice calm at first, but laced with a pain that ripped through me like a physical blow. I saw the heartbreak in his eyes, the confusion, the sheer disbelief that I, the person he trusted most, could do such a thing. There was no point in lying anymore, no more excuses, no more hiding. The truth spilled out of me in a torrent of shame and regret, a confession soaked in tears and desperate apologies. I watched his world crumble before my eyes, the man I loved reduced to a shell of himself, his face etched with agony. He didn't yell, he didn't scream. He just looked at me with an expression of profound sadness, a look that said, "I don't know who you are anymore." The silence that followed my confession was far worse than any argument could have been. It was the silence of shattered trust, of a broken promise, of a love irrevocably damaged. He asked me to leave, not in anger, but in a quiet voice filled with an unbearable hurt. I packed a bag, my hands shaking, my vision blurred by tears, leaving behind the life we had built, the home we had shared, the future we had envisioned. The apartment felt cold, empty, without me, without us, just a shell of what it once was. I went to Mark's. He was comforting. He was kind. He said he understood, but his words felt hollow without the weight of shared history, without the depth of true commitment. The thrill of our affair had vanished, replaced by the stark reality of its consequences. The excitement, the passion, it all seemed meaningless. Now stripped bare of its illicit allure, I had traded the comfort of a deep, unwavering love for a fleeting moment of stolen passion. And in the process, I had lost everything. Mark was a temporary escape, a fantasy. But John, he was real. He was my foundation, my home, and I had destroyed it all with my own hands, with my own selfish choices, Mark. And I tried to make it work for a little while after everything came crashing down. But the foundation was rotten, built on secrecy and betrayal. The magic was gone, replaced by the lingering shadow of how we started every shared meal. Every touch, every conversation was tainted by the knowledge of the pain we had caused. We couldn't escape it. We couldn't build something new on such broken ground. Eventually, we drifted apart, the intensity of our affair fading into an uncomfortable silence. There was no happily ever after for us, just a hollow echo of what could have been. If only we had met differently, or if only I had been a different person. I learned the hard way that true connection cannot thrive in the darkness of deceit. It needs light, honesty, vulnerability to flourish. And I had offered none of those things in the pursuit of a fleeting illusion. In the weeks and months that followed, the pain was a constant companion. The regret gnawed at me, a relentless reminder of my failures. I saw John sometimes from a distance, and the sight of him looking diminished haunted me. I realized then with a clarity that stung like salt in a wound what I had truly lost. It wasn't just a relationship. It was a part of myself, the person I thought I was, the person I aspired to be. I learned that love is not just a feeling. It's a choice, a commitment, a daily effort. It's about weathering the storms together, working through the lulls, finding new ways to connect when the old ones grow stale. I learned that chasing external validation or fleeting excitement at the expense of genuine connection is a recipe for heartbreak. I learned the devastating power of betrayal, the irreparable damage it can inflict. I understood the depth of the trust I had violated, the sacred bond I had carelessly trampled. There are no easy answers, no quick fixes, no way to rewind time and undo the damage. All I have now is the heavy burden of my choices and the long, slow, arduous path of self-forgiveness and rebuilding. I am learning to live with the ghost of my past, with the knowledge of the pain I caused. I am learning that true love is patient, it is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, and I had failed on almost every count. The lessons are etched into my soul, a painful education in the fragility of trust and the profound cost of betrayal. I am a different person, now a more jaded one perhaps, but also a more aware one. I carry the weight of my past, hoping that one day I can truly make amends, not just to John, but to myself, hoping that the lessons learned through such devastation can eventually lead to a deeper, more honest, and more resilient version of who I am meant to be. The scar remains a permanent reminder of the choices I made and the love I lost. And sometimes late at night I still hear John's voice in my head, quiet, heartbroken, asking me why. And even now I still struggle to find a good enough answer, a true enough reason for the destruction I wrought. All I know is that the grass is never greener. It's just different, and sometimes it's poisoned, and I am left to tend to the barren field of my own making. Harvesting only regret the person I saw in the mirror. After all of this was not someone I recognized. She was tired, her eyes heavy with unshed tears, her smile a stranger. She carried the weight of a heavy heart, a conscience stained by regret. I am still trying to find my way back to the person I was before the lies, before the betrayal, before the self-inflicted wounds. It's a long journey fraught with moments of intense self-loathing and overwhelming sadness. But I have to believe that there is a path towards redemption, towards self-acceptance, even if it means walking it alone for a very, very long time. The silence in my apartment now is deafening, a stark contrast to the comfortable hum of life John and I once shared. It's a constant reminder of the emptiness I created, the void I carved out with my own hands. But perhaps in this silence, in this solitude, there is also an opportunity for growth, for healing, a chance to finally listen to the quiet